I hear the words before I even see the man's face. "You shave and I'll kill you." The sentence hits me like a slap. It's sharp. It's strange. It's the kind of line that makes me forget whatever else I was thinking about. I just stop and pay attention. My brain instantly starts asking questions. Who says something like that? Why would shaving matter at all? And who is he talking to with that kind of cold, heavy tone? I imagine the voice coming from someone rough, someone used to hard days and harder nights. There's a kind of grit in it, like dust carried by wind. I can almost feel that wind as I listen. The tone isn't loud, but it's firm. It doesn't need to be repeated to sound real. But he repeats it anyway, almost like he wants to make sure I understand how serious he is. And instantly, I feel pulled closer. Not physically, but mentally. Like I'm leaning in, trying to see what's going on in this dusty, tense corner of a ranch somewhere far from anything comforting. It feels like the start of something dangerous, something personal, something that didn't just appear out of nowhere. This isn't a random threat. It feels like a line drawn in the dirt. I don't know who the stranger is yet. I don't know why this rancher cares so much. But the moment those words leave his mouth, I know something deeper is happening here. Something that's about to unfold in a way I'm not prepared for, and I can't look away. The place feels like it sits at the edge of the world, empty, quiet, and rough in a way that makes you instantly alert. I picture a stretch of dry land, the kind that cracks under the sun. The air looks still, but I can sense heat moving through it, rising off the ground in slow waves. There's no soft noise here. No hum of cars, no chatter, nothing predictable. Just the occasional whisper of wind brushing across old fence posts, and the distant call of a bird that sounds just as lonely as the land. It's the kind of place where a man can hide everything he's ever felt, simply because no one is around to hear him. The ranch sits in the middle of all this silence, almost blending into the dirt around it. The wood looks worn down by years of storms and sun. You can tell nobody is here for beauty. Everything is built for survival. The gate leans a little to one side. The barn roof dips down in the middle. Even the water trough looks tired, but there's a strange strength in it too, a kind of stubbornness. Like the ranch refuses to fall apart, no matter how hard the world tries to push it down. And somehow, that makes it even more intimidating. Then there's the rancher. The first time I imagine him stepping out, I feel a kind of pressure, as if the ground becomes heavier with each step he takes. His boots are dusty, his jeans faded, and his shirt looks like it's been through years of work. But it's not the clothing that catches me. It's the man himself. His face is shaped by the sun, by time, by whatever he's seen out here that he never talks about. Deep lines cross his skin like marks left behind by old memories. His eyes are sharp, not because he wants to scare anyone, but because he's learned that softness has no place in a world like this. Everything about him says he spent years being strong because he had no other choice. He doesn't walk fast, but he walks with purpose, the kind that makes you step aside without being told. His shoulders stay square, his jaw tight, and even the way he breathes feels controlled. This is a man who can handle the land, the animals, the storms, the long nights. But he speaks so little that every word he does say feels heavier, more important. And when he's quiet, you feel the silence grow around him like a shadow. You can't help but pay attention. Then there's the stranger, someone who doesn't belong here, someone whose presence feels wrong against the dusty backdrop of the ranch. He looks out of place the way a polished coin looks wrong in a handful of dirt. He carries a kind of nervous energy, like he's trying to hide something or trying to pretend he's braver than he feels. You can almost hear his heartbeat in the still air. It thumps against the silence, steady but scared, as if it knows it shouldn't be here. His clothes look too clean compared to the rancher's. His hands show no signs of hard work. He steps lightly instead of firmly, as if he's unsure about the ground beneath him. His eyes move quickly, scanning everything, the barn, the fence, the open field, almost like he's searching for a path out in case things go wrong. And honestly, I can feel that sense of uncertainty rise in me too. Because the moment I see him standing there, facing a man built out of dust and storms, I know he stepped into a world he doesn't understand. There is a space between them, a few feet, maybe less, but it feels bigger, like the air in that space has weight, pulling both men down in different ways. The rancher stands still, grounded like he belongs to the earth. The stranger shifts his feet, unsure if he should move or freeze. It's a quiet standoff, but powerful enough to make me hold my breath without realizing it. The land behind them stretches far in every direction. No houses, no roads, no people, nothing to save you if something goes wrong, nothing to hear you if you yell. And that emptiness makes everything feel sharper, more personal. It's just these two men and whatever history, secrets, or mistakes brought them to this moment. All of it hanging there, waiting to unfold. I can taste the dryness of the air as I imagine the stranger licking his lips, trying to steady himself. Maybe he came here looking for help. Maybe he came to settle something. Maybe he came without knowing the danger. Whatever his reason, he stands there under the full stare of the rancher, a stare that could cut through walls if it had to. And I can feel how unsettling that must be. The rancher doesn't need a weapon. His silence is enough to make the stranger swallow hard. I start to notice little details, things I might not care about in a safer place. The slight bend in the rancher's hat brim. The way he hooks his thumb near his belt, like he's ready for anything. The faint twitch in the stranger's fingers as he holds onto a small bag, as if it contains something important. Even the dust around their feet seems to pause, hovering in the air before settling again. There's a feeling that something has happened between them, something not said but deeply felt. Maybe a betrayal, maybe a warning ignored, maybe a mistake too big to fix. And the land seems to hold that tension, trapping it in the heat, refusing to let it blow away. The longer they stand there, the more I feel like I'm watching the beginning of a storm, the kind you can't escape once it starts. Nothing loud happens, no shouting, no sudden moves, but somehow the silence grows louder than any noise. It pushes into my chest, making me feel the weight of whatever is coming. I can sense the stranger trying to calm his breath, and the rancher refusing to soften even a little. Everything about this moment tells me that once something breaks, once a word slips out, once a choice is made, nothing will be the same again. And I keep watching because I want to understand why this rancher, this quiet, hardened man, would look at a stranger and say something as strange and cold as, "You shave, and I'll kill you." There has to be a reason. And out here in the middle of this empty ranch, reasons run deeper than they seem. The rancher doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't have to. When he repeats the threat, asterisk you shave, and I'll kill you asterisk, it feels like the whole land reacts before the stranger even does. The wind seems to stop. The dust seems to settle. Even the birds that were circling somewhere above seem to disappear. It's as if the world around them understands the weight of those words better than the man they were aimed at. And I can feel the tension tighten, like a rope slowly pulled from both sides. The rancher steps forward just a little, not enough to look aggressive, but enough to make the stranger freeze. I can almost feel the ground shift, as if the land itself leans closer to listen. The stranger doesn't answer. His lips part slightly, but no sound comes out. He looks like he wants to ask why, but he's too scared the question itself might push the rancher over the edge. He swallows hard, and I can hear that swallow in my head. It sounds heavy, like a stone dropping into quiet water. The rancher's eyes stay locked on the stranger, not blinking, not softening. Those eyes carry something buried deep, something sharp, something old. Maybe a memory, maybe a scar, maybe a warning that was once ignored. But whatever it is, it makes that threat feel almost sacred, as if it's more than anger. As if it's tied to something he lost long ago, something shaving would somehow destroy. I find myself staring too, trying to understand what sits behind those eyes, what story shapes that rage. The stranger shifts slightly, one foot sliding in the dust. That tiny movement kicks up a little cloud, but it settles just as fast as it lifted. He doesn't dare take another step. His hands twitch nervously at his sides. I can feel his confusion. He's caught between fear and disbelief. Who threatens someone over something as simple as shaving? What kind of man speaks like that with such certainty, such coldness? And yet the rancher's tone makes it clear. He's not joking. He means every syllable. The stranger tries to steady his breath. He lifts his chin a bit, maybe out of instinct, maybe out of pride. And for a brief second, I think he might talk back. But then he looks at the rancher's face again, every line carved by the sun and by years of silence. It hits him, and it hits me too. This isn't a man who wastes words. This isn't a man who dramatizes. When he warns you, he's telling the truth. Plain, raw, simple, deadly. The rancher's jaw tightens slightly. It's barely noticeable, but I catch it. It's the kind of movement a man makes when he's trying to hold himself together, trying not to remember something painful. His hands rest beside him, but there's a tension there. Not the tension of a man ready to fight, more like the tension of a man ready to relive something he spent years trying to bury. And I get the sense that shaving for him isn't just shaving. It's tied to a moment he never wants to see again. The stranger finally speaks, but his voice is soft and shaky, almost like a whisper fighting its way out. He tries to say he doesn't understand. He tries to say he's not trying to cause trouble, but his voice cracks halfway through. I can feel the fear creeping into him, like cold fingers running down his spine. His words hang in the air for a moment, fragile and thin. Then they seem to break apart and vanish, swallowed by the dry wind. The rancher doesn't answer. He just watches. And that silence feels louder than anything the stranger could have said. It feels like the rancher is daring him to ask again, daring him to push back, daring him to test the weight of the warning. And the stranger feels it too. He stops talking. His hands curl into fists at his sides, not because he wants to fight, but because he's trying to hold onto what little courage he has left. The moment stretches out, long and heavy. I can almost see the sun dragging shadows across the dusty ground, slowly shifting as the seconds pass. The rancher breathes in, steady and slow. The stranger breathes out, shaky and uneven. Two men sharing the same air, but not the same fear. One stands in silence because he's used to holding pain inside. The other stands in silence because he's terrified of what might spill out if he speaks again. Then the rancher moves his hand just slightly, lifting two fingers toward the stranger's face, toward the beard he hasn't touched yet. The gesture is small, but it hits like a strike. There's something symbolic in it, something deeper than the words he already said. As if he's saying, without speaking, that whatever is hidden under that beard should stay hidden. That shaving it off would expose something dangerous, something forbidden, something the rancher refuses to let into the world again. The stranger's breath catches, his eyes widen a bit, and I feel myself leaning forward, wanting to understand what that gesture means, wanting to know what story sits behind the rancher's warning. It doesn't feel like anger anymore. It feels like protection, or guilt, or fear twisted into something sharp and unyielding. The rancher lowers his hand slowly, letting it fall back to his side. His body stays tense, his shoulders tight, his stare unbroken. He steps back just half a pace, not enough to soften the threat, but enough to show that the next move isn't his. It belongs to the stranger now. And that shift, that tiny shift, makes everything even more intense. Because now the air feels charged, waiting for the stranger to decide, waiting for him to choose whether he'll obey the warning or push against it, waiting to see what part of the rancher's past will awaken if the blade touches his skin. I sit there caught in the moment, feeling the weight of that warning echo in my mind. You shave and I'll kill you. Not shouted, not repeated in rage, just spoken again with a quiet certainty that settles deep into the bones. And the stranger stands there trembling, unsure if the threat is about the act or about the truth waiting beneath it. The stranger hesitates at first, and I can feel that hesitation settle in my own chest. His hand drifts slowly toward the small bag he brought with him. Something about the movement feels wrong, like he's opening a door he shouldn't even be touching. But he doesn't stop. Maybe he's too proud. Maybe he's too desperate. Maybe he simply doesn't believe the rancher will follow through with a threat that extreme. Whatever the reason is, he reaches for the razor with trembling fingers. The moment he touches it, the rancher's eyes sharpen. Not wide, not shocked, just sharper like a blade being honed. He doesn't move. He doesn't speak. But something inside him hardens even more, as if the stranger's choice confirms a fear he hoped would never come true. And I can feel that tension rise, thick enough to taste. The stranger unwraps the razor slowly, almost nervously. Metal glints faintly in the sun. It's just a simple tool, nothing threatening about it. Yet in this moment, it feels like the most dangerous object in the world. The stranger takes one step back from the rancher, not to run, just to create space. He brings the blade up near his face, and even that small lift seems to steal the air from around us. His breath is shallow, his hand shakes, and I swear, even though he's doing the action himself, it feels like the razor weighs more than it should, as if the rancher's warning has turned it into something heavy and cursed. He steadies himself in front of the cracked window of the barn, using the faint reflection to guide his movements. The glass is so dusty he can barely see himself, but he doesn't dare ask the rancher for anything else. The rancher stays still, watching. There's no anger there, not even hatred, just an intense, focused stillness that makes the hair on my arms lift. He looks like a man staring at a ghost he thought he'd buried long ago. The stranger presses the blade against his skin, just gently, just enough to test the first stroke. The scrape is soft, almost nothing, but in this silent ranch it echoes like a shout. I feel my heart jump. The rancher's jaw tightens again, his fingers curl, but he doesn't stop him, not yet. He watches the first thin line of shaved skin appear. Then the stranger drags the blade again. Another stroke, another soft scrape. Sweat forms along his forehead in tiny beads, sliding down his nose, dripping into the dust. I can almost hear his thoughts as he tries to work quickly, trying to get it over with before the rancher changes his mind. He keeps glancing out of the corner of his eye, trying to read the rancher's face without turning his head. But there's nothing to read. The rancher's expression stays carved in stone. The blade catches a little on one side of the stranger's jaw, tugging his skin. He winces. The wince feels louder than the scraping sound. His hand jerks slightly. The razor nearly slips. For one terrifying second, I think it will slice too deep. Blood doesn't even have to spill for me to feel the panic in my throat. But he regains control, steadying the razor again, breathing faster now, slicing away small rows of beard. And still, the rancher just watches. His stare doesn't move. His shoulders don't shift. It feels like he's waiting for something, something beyond the shaving itself. As if the action is unlocking a memory he's been trying to trap behind his ribs. His eyes start to look different, not angry but haunted. There's something old resting behind them, like a story burned into his bones. The stranger continues. The razor glides along his chin, then his cheek. Long strokes, careful ones. The sun hits the metal with each movement, making tiny flashes of light that bounce across the barn wall. I notice the stranger's breath turning uneven. The razor trembles each time he lifts it back up for another stroke. The fear spreading across his face isn't about cutting his skin. It's about what the rancher might do once the shave is finished. The dust around them swirls again, as if the air itself is reacting to the tension. The ground feels hotter. The silence feels deeper. Each motion of the razor feels heavier, like it's dragging not just hair but truth to the surface. The stranger wipes his cheek with the back of his hand, smearing leftover foam and sweat together. His eyes look glassy, unfocused, the way someone looks when they're trying not to fall apart. The rancher shifts slightly, just a half move, barely nothing, but the stranger jumps from it. And I do too, because even the smallest movement from the rancher feels meaningful, like a warning sign. He's leaning in just a bit more, nostrils flaring. His chest rises and falls in slow, controlled breaths. He looks like a man trying to stop himself from exploding, from breaking, from remembering. The stranger lowers the blade to his neck. This part feels the most dangerous. Just watching it makes my stomach tighten. The skin is sensitive, soft, easy to cut. The rancher's gaze sharpens even more, following the blade as if it's tied to his own past. The stranger drags it slowly, carefully, clearing a narrow path from one side of his throat to the other. Every second feels stretched until it nearly snaps. A drop of sweat slides down the stranger's chin and falls to the dirt. And somehow, that tiny drop feels loud, like a drum, marking the passing of a moment that shouldn't be happening at all. The stranger wipes his neck again and keeps going, clearing the last lines of hair beneath his jaw. And then something shifts, not in the stranger but in the rancher. His eyes flick downward. His breath stutters once. It's the first real break in his composure, and I can feel it vibrating in the air. Like whatever he was waiting to see is starting to appear. Something on the stranger's face, something hidden under the beard, something the shaving is slowly revealing. The stranger doesn't notice. He's too busy trying to finish the job, trying to survive this moment, trying to keep his hand from shaking into disaster. But I notice the rancher. I feel the change in him. His shoulders tense. His fingers twitch again. His eyes narrow, focusing on a specific part of the stranger's newly exposed skin. The stranger takes the last stroke, a long, slow drag across his cheek. And as the blade lifts away, the rancher leans forward, like he recognizes something. Like he sees a mark, a scar, a shape, a memory. And I feel the shift ripple through the entire ranch like a storm forming out of a clear sky. The shave isn't just a shave anymore. It's a reveal, a trigger, a key unlocking something the rancher tried to bury years ago. And with each inch of exposed skin, something dangerous begins to wake. The rancher's body moves before his mind can hide it. It's only a small step, barely more than a shift in weight, but it carries the force of something breaking loose inside him. His boots scrape against the dirt, pushing a thin line through the dust. The stranger hears it and freezes, razor still lifted near his cheek. For the first time since he began shaving, he looks directly at the rancher, searching his face for any sign, anger, fear, mercy. But what he sees there isn't any of those things. It's something far more unsettling. The rancher isn't angry, he isn't scared, he's remembering. His eyes focus on the stranger's face, on the part that has just been revealed. A patch of pale skin, a faint mark, something small, something subtle, but something that clearly means everything to the rancher. His jaw unclenches, then tightens again. It's like watching a man fall into an old nightmare, one he thought he outran years ago. Then he reaches up. His hand doesn't grab the stranger. It doesn't shove him or strike him. Instead, the rancher reaches for the object hanging from a wooden beam beside him, a cloth cover draped over something stiff and hidden. I didn't notice it before. It blended too well with the dust and shadows. But the rancher's hand grips it so tightly that the knuckles turn white, and with a sharp, sudden pull, he yanks it down. The cloth falls to the ground, rolling through the dirt like a discarded skin. Under it stands a wooden frame, a carved board, a face drawn in rough strokes, a portrait, or rather what's left of one. The stranger's eyes widen. Mine do too. The drawing is old, worn by wind and time. The features are smudged, but the shape is clear enough. A face with a strong jawline, dark eyes, a faint scar just below the cheek. Almost the same, not perfect, but close enough, that the stranger suddenly looks like a ghost standing in front of the rancher, returned after years in hiding. I feel the air shift. Not like weather, more like the moment before a confession, before a truth that has been buried too deep begins crawling its way back into the light. The rancher stares at the drawing, then at the stranger, then back at the drawing again. Each look seems to twist something inside him. His breathing grows heavier, deeper. Not fast, just heavy, like he's pulling in air that refuses to fill him. His hand hovers over the wooden frame for a moment, almost touching it but stopping just before his fingers reach it. The stranger tries to speak, but the words stick in his throat. I don't know, he stammers, but the rancher's glare silences him instantly. It's not a glare of hatred, it's a glare of realization, recognition. pain sharpened into something hard and dangerous. The rancher steps closer, boots sinking into the dust. Each step feels like a drumbeat. The stranger backs away, but there's nowhere to go. He presses against the barn wall, the razor still clutched in his hand. His breath comes in shaky bursts now. He tries to say he has nothing to do with whatever the rancher thinks, but his voice trembles too much for words to sound believable. The rancher raises his hand slowly, not to strike, but to point. He points at the stranger's face, directly at the freshly shaved skin, at the mark now exposed, that tiny scar that mirrors the one in the portrait. I watch the rancher's lips part slightly like he wants to speak, but no sound comes out. He swallows hard. Then again. His body stiffens. His face contorts, not in anger but in something far more painful, recognition mixed with heartbreak. The kind of emotion that has nowhere to go except outwards, in the form of rage or despair. His hand trembles for the first time. And then he does something I don't expect. Something so sudden and sharp it feels like the world itself flinches. He reaches for the rope tied around the beam above him, a thick rope coiled tightly, and yanks it down with force. It falls in a loop, swinging wildly for a moment. The stranger stares at it with horror as dust rains from the rafters, the force of the pull shaking loose years of grime. The rancher doesn't speak. He doesn't explain. But the message in that rope is chillingly clear. He's not here for a conversation. The stranger's knees weaken. He drops the razor. It clatters on the ground, the metal ringing through the silence like a cruel bell. His hands lift defensively, palms facing the rancher as if that alone could stop the storm building in the man's chest. "I'm not him," he finally manages to whisper. "Please, I'm not him." But the rancher steps forward, closing the last bit of space between them. His breath warms the stranger's face. His eyes bore into the exposed scar. And for a moment, a brief, flickering moment, I see something human inside him. A flicker of doubt, a ghost of mercy, the memory of loss softening his stare. Then that softness dies. His hand shoots forward, not to grab the stranger's neck, not to throw the rope around him, but to grip his jaw. Hard. He tilts the stranger's head toward the sunlight, forcing the newly shaved skin to catch the light. There it is, the scar, clear now, undeniable. The rancher's breath shudders. His voice breaks into a low, trembling whisper, so quiet I almost miss it. "You look like him," he says. "You look just like him." The stranger gulps air, chest rising and falling fast. "I swear I don't know him, I don't know who." The rancher's grip tightens. "You shave," he murmurs, "and you show the world what you really are." The stranger's eyes widen. He shakes his head violently, panic flooding through him. But the rancher isn't listening anymore. He's moving through memory now, not reality. He sees a face from his past, a betrayal that never healed, a wound that never closed. And people who remind him of that wound become targets the second their faces match the memory. The rope sways behind him like a silent promise. The dust hangs in the air like judgment. And the rancher stands over the stranger, seeing not a man, but a ghost resurfacing after years of being buried beneath a beard. The unthinkable isn't the rope. It isn't the grip. It isn't even the threat. It's the terrifying stillness of a man who believes fate has delivered his enemy back to him, and believes he must finish what was left undone. The air turns thick, almost too heavy to breathe. The stranger stands pinned against the barn wall, trembling under the rancher's grip. But it's the rancher's face, drawn tight, torn between fury and something deeper, that holds all of my attention. It's like watching a man fight a battle inside himself, one that started long before this stranger ever stepped foot on the ranch. His hand stays locked on the stranger's jaw, fingers digging into the skin, but his eyes drift somewhere far away, as if he's staring through the stranger past him, into a memory that refuses to fade. The rope behind him keeps swaying in slow, rhythmic arcs. The barn door creaks faintly as the wind pushes against it. Everything else is so still that I can hear the stranger's heartbeat pounding like distant thunder. He tries to speak again, but the rancher's grip tightens before the words can escape. A soft groan slips out of him, Not a cry, not a sob, just a sound that feels like it's been trapped inside for years. The stranger's eyes dart to the rope, then back to the rancher. He's trying not to collapse. His legs shake under him, but he holds himself up, maybe out of desperation, maybe out of instinct. He keeps whispering small pleas, small, broken breaths of please, please listen. But the rancher's face shows no sign of hearing them. The rancher's focus is locked on that scar, the one now exposed because the shave revealed what the beard had been hiding. The rancher drags his thumb slowly across the mark, tracing it with an almost trembling touch. The stranger flinches, but the rancher keeps going, following the line of the scar like he knows it by heart. And maybe he does. Maybe he's seen it before on another man. On a man who took something from him. A man who left him with wounds deeper than anyone could see. The silence between them thickens. The stranger's breath catches, and he tries to turn his head away, but the rancher forces it back. His voice, when it finally cracks through the air, is low and raw, scraping the bottom of his throat. It doesn't sound like anger. It sounds like old pain wrapped in barbed wire. "You lied to me," he murmurs, but he isn't talking to the stranger. His eyes shift as if he's speaking to the memory itself. "You left. You ran. You thought you could hide behind a beard, behind another name, but you came back." The stranger shakes his head, tears forming, breath broken in gasps. "I'm not that man, I swear. I don't know him, please." But the rancher isn't listening. His voice grows heavier, thick with emotions that twist between grief and fury. "You took everything from me. Everything." His grip shakes, but he doesn't let go. "And now you show up again looking like this." He jerks the stranger's face toward the light again, making the scar flash under the sun like a cruel reminder. The stranger blinks hard, trying to get the rancher to see him, not the ghost haunting the rancher's memory. "I'm not him," he repeats, voice cracking. "I'm not who you think I am." For a moment, a brief, fragile moment, the rancher hesitates. His grip loosens just a fraction. His eyes blink, as if the present is finally trying to break through the past. The stranger senses it. He leans into it, desperate, reaching for that fraction of doubt like it's the only lifeline he has left. But then something inside the rancher snaps. His hand drops away from the stranger's jaw. He steps back, not calmly, but like he's recoiling from something that burns him. His breath shakes out of him in uneven bursts. His eyes flick between the scar, the razor on the ground, and the portrait hanging behind him. The world around him seems to tilt. He's not seeing the stranger anymore. He's seeing memories layered over reality. The betrayal, the loss, the face, the scar. And suddenly the rancher reaches for the board where the portrait hangs. His fingers slide across the worn wood, tracing the lines of the old drawing with a shaky reverence. Then, without warning, he slams his fist against it. The impact rattles the entire frame. Dust explodes from the wood. The stranger jumps. I jump. The rancher doesn't blink. He winds up again and hits it harder, cracking the corner of the frame. His hand bleeds, small lines of red snaking across his knuckles, but he doesn't notice. Or maybe he does and doesn't care. He stands there with his chest heaving, staring at the portrait like it's mocking him, like it's alive, whispering a truth he can't bear. Then the rancher turns back to the stranger. The look in his eyes is different now. Not calm, not wild. Something worse, uncertainty. Like he's standing at the edge of a cliff with no idea whether he's about to step off or step back. He wipes the blood on his jeans and steps toward the stranger again. Each step is slow, deliberate, controlled. And each one feels like a countdown. The stranger backs away until his shoulders press harder against the wall. Tears run down his face, but he doesn't make a sound. His voice is gone. His fear is louder than anything he could say. His eyes lock onto the rancher's hands, watching them rise, expecting the worst. But instead of reaching for the rope, the rancher reaches for the stranger's collar. He grabs the fabric and pulls the man closer, not to hurt him, but to look at him up close, face to face, breath to breath. The rancher studies him like someone trying to spot a lie hidden beneath skin. The stranger tries not to blink. He tries not to breathe too loudly. He tries not to show how close he is to collapse. The rancher lifts his free hand and presses 2 fingers against the scar on the stranger's cheek. This time softer, slower, a touch not of anger but of disbelief. His eyes search the stranger's face for something, anything, that can confirm what he wants to believe or what he fears to accept. "You can't be him," he whispers. "You can't." The stranger shakes his head violently, sobbing breathlessly. I'm not, I swear on my life." The rancher steps back, still staring, his breath trembling. The stranger's words ring in the dry air, fragile and desperate. The rope behind them swings one final time, casting a faint shadow across the dirt. The rancher looks at the stranger. He looks at the portrait. He looks at the scar. And the world holds its breath with him, waiting to see if he believes what's in front of him, or what's haunting him from behind.